Actor and director Ken Sonkin is here at Quartz Mountain for his first time, and we are so fortunate to have him with us this summer. He has directed on major stages around the United States. He's also taught at such universities as Stanford, Northwestern, and Cornell. And I've only known him for a few short days, but I really can tell that he's going to be a terrific addition to the Quartz Mountain magic we're going to make here this summer. Please welcome Ken Sonkin.
Hi everybody, I'm Ken Sonkin. I'm the acting instructor this summer, and I'm so glad to get to be with you all. I want to thank Julie and Emily and just the wonderful staff and crew that you all put together to make everybody, especially the newcomers, feel welcome. So thank you. So I want to give you a little bit of background on me, and like a lot of the other people I've heard say, yeah, well, us artists, we're not that great at talking about ourselves. We would rather let our art speak for itself if we can. But that being said, in a day and a half, 2 days now, I've absolutely fallen in love with my acting students here, and I have to say that their stories kind of parallel mine. So I put some slides together back about 100 years ago. I got started in middle school doing musical theater. Yeah, that's me, playing Lucky in Dames at Sea. And after that, I realized as I got into high school that I started to get more and more involved in theater. I was also playing soccer at the time, but I really had this bug. I don't know where it came from. And in undergrad at Ohio State, by the way, I also sang in the Ohio State Men's Glee Club, like Doug Ross did. After Ohio State, I got a BFA, and then I realized I wanted more serious training. I was kind of a class clown, and I was used to doing musical theater and comedy, but I wanted to be taken seriously as an actor, so I applied to grad schools and was accepted at the American Conservatory Theater. From there, a couple of things happened. First, one of the most prestigious acting schools in the country, particularly on the West Coast, and I got to work with some amazing theater artists there. The second thing is that I finally realized that I'm really a character actor, and which is a lot of fun. And then the third thing is, that's me getting ready for a Gorky play called The Lower Depths. And I think I was like 24 years old at the time, playing an old man. And then the third thing is that I fell in love with San Francisco. And I knew that that's where I wanted to make my artistic home. So just put together a few slides I want to rattle through quickly, just some character work of some stuff that I've done. I started working on my regional theater career, working as a professional actor. By the way, I think when I was 13, I actually started, I also got into magic, and so I became a magician and turned professional later on. My career has sort of been a balance between being an actor, being a director, and being a professional magician. And I kind of mix my year up accordingly. A couple of wonderful roles in an A.R. Gurney play called Sylvia. Does anybody know that play? Sylvia? Yeah, one person. So that's me up there. Playing a tough guy. Kind of a guy talked like this, and he kind of knows everything. His name was Bowser. This is me as well. First time I got to play drag, and playing a woman who spoke up here. She was a rich socialite from New York. And then the third character named Leslie, who you didn't know if it was a male or a female, deliberately was the therapist. Very fun. And then I got one of my first professional musical theater gigs playing the MC in Cabaret. Wonderful play called The Mystery of Irma Vep. Did that in Pennsylvania at the Pennsylvania Center Stage. It's great. It's a satire. Two male actors play all of the roles. It's a quick change show. So they're playing male and female and makes fun of Shakespeare and Jane Eyre and the Brontes and all this great classical theater. This one I put in because I was so tickled when I knew I was coming here, because I hadn't been back to the state of Oklahoma in a while. Years ago, I was fortunate enough to be asked to play the title role in Will Rogers' Follies. So, yeah, and I have to say, I spent about a year researching Will Rogers, and he became one of my all-time favorite people of history, but also characters to play on stage. Some more John Guare. This is my MFA thesis role. And again, I just got known as being a character actor. By the way, that's me with David Diggs. Do y'all know who David is? Here, let me pick that up, because I'm going to spend the summer dropping names. David and I got to be really good buddies. He's from San Francisco, from Oakland area. And in fact, he came and auditioned for me for a show I was directing right after that. Playing Kissinger and Nixon's Nixon, fabulous play, kind of a hypothetical on Nixon's last night in office. Some Shakespeare. This one I put in, I found out a couple of my students, I can't remember, Lee, I think you were one that did Seussical, is that right? Yeah. And then was somebody else who was also in a production of Seussical, I think, in the class I saw. It's one of my favorite things as an actor. I have to say that, so I got to play this role and just had a blast, just screwing around, coming up with fun, silly stuff, singing and dancing my butt off. But at the same time the show was running, it ran for 3 months in San Francisco, I was actually cast in another show at the same time, so we began rehearsing American Buffalo by David Mamet. So here am I doing this silly, fun stuff, musical theater comedy at night, and during the day, rehearsing a very intense, dark thriller. So that was me during the day, and then when the Seussical closed, so I went right from one to the other. The reason I bring that up is one of the things I think that I love about acting is how we all have a range. I've been listening to Andre, I've been listening to Doug Droste, Paul today, and some of the other teachers about if you only do just one thing, then it kind of gets maybe stale after a while, and I try to mix it up, just me as an artist. So after American Buffalo, I don't know, I'll zip through these. One of the things I loved about being in San Francisco is that we're one of the incubators of new works. We produce a lot of wonderful new plays, new playwrights, a lot of playwrights your guys' age. And we bring them along, and very often these plays will get regional theater productions. They'll go to off-Broadway. A couple have gone to Broadway, to London, and so on around the world. So it's one of the things I love about San Francisco. Yeah, Spelling Bee, one of my favorites. Got to play Vice Principal Panch. I love that show. So the first song I sang or tried to sing, last year I got asked to play the father in Billy Elliot, the musical, the West Coast premiere. And I hadn't actually performed for about 5-6 years. And so getting back on stage, it was one of my favorite things I've done in a long time. I wanted to show you one slide in particular. Oh, I love that slide. That's him saying, does anybody know Billy Elliot? Yeah! Isn't that a great show? I love that show. So this is one of my favorite slides because if you don't know the story, it takes place in 1984-85 in the north of England during a coal miner strike. And these men have decided to go on strike, and they're all very poor anyway. And this man has 2 sons. His wife has died. And his youngest son, who's 10 or 11, Billy, gets the bug and decides he wants to be a ballet dancer. Well, in this really tough working class community, that's unheard of. And so the journey that this boy goes on, and the father not understanding it at all, I have to say was one of my favorite things. This young man, Matthew Dean, who's now on first national tour of Newsies, he was amazing. And if you know the show, towards the end of the play, he gets finally to go to London and audition for the London Ballet School. Well, I, being the father, take him there. And every night, I got to stay on stage and watch him dance. And I have to say that it reminds me of why I'm here this summer, because as a young man, I had dreams too. And every night, I would see him just fly like that. And I'm seeing you guys, I see it in your eyes, I see it in my acting students, how you have that same desire to fly. And I have to say that we, the faculty, we're here to help you do that. I'll zip through the rest of these real quickly. Somewhere along there, I started getting into directing, and it's a production of Last 5 Years that I love, the music. And Andy, are you here? Yeah. Yeah, we were talking about that the other day. I realized a buddy of mine in Chicago who's a professional director, he said it better than I did because he also started as an actor. And what he said was, as an actor, you only tell your part of the story. But as a director, you get to tell the whole story. And I started feeling that desire. So Wonderful play. Started doing, getting back to some classical work. This is a production of Les Liaisons Dangereuses. I'll show you one of my favorite pictures. This is one of the most gorgeous outdoor amphitheaters in Northern California in Marin County. So you can see the audience. It seats about 650 people, but as the sun is setting and the trees up there, it's magical. A couple more of my shows, just favorite. Beautiful play called The Trestle at Popelik Creek by Naomi Wallace. Those of you actors looking for monologues, it's got some great writing in it. Set during the Great Depression in Kentucky. One of my all-time favorite musicals, The Full Monty. You all know that show? A little bit? I got to say, there's kind of this thing around The Full Monty that it's, it's about the guys who get naked at the end. No, I don't think that. I really feel that it's so much about the male identity and how tough it is to be a man. Obviously, that's kind of different this year with the Me Too movement and other women's movements and so on. But when it comes to male identity and the male ego, this is one of my favorite books. I also love the music. I'll zip through these. Very fun production of Three Musketeers. Oh, I put this in. This adaptation is by Ken Ludwig, who wrote Moon Over Buffalo and Lend Me a Tenor. And he writes fabulous female characters. He added a younger sister for D'Artagnan. And in fact, the climax of the play is the two women doing amazing sword fight. So any of you girls out there interested in sword fighting, there's new works and new plays coming out, and you get to do that. I think it's fabulous. I think the greatest play in the 20th century, and Andy and I were talking about at lunch, Angels in America, and I got to direct this at USF. Okay. I teach at USF in the Performing Arts and Social Justice program, and we did this to christen our new black box theater, and it was absolutely amazing. If you don't know Angels in America, it's about 5.5 hours long with both parts. We cast the students in August, and then we worked on the first part, Millennium Approaches, in the whole fall semester. Then we took our winter break, we came back, and then we did the second part, and I directed Perestroika, the second part, using the same actors. It was the 25th anniversary of the first AIDS case, and so we brought in a lot of AIDS workers in San Francisco who had been around at the time. Was also friends with one of the original board members who hired Tony Kushner at the Eureka Theater and commissioned him to write this. So it was really a seminal moment for us at USF, and I think one of the greatest plays. I stuck in some pictures of producers. I'm going to wrap it up quick. Another great show. Another beautiful play called Take Me Out by Richard Greenberg. Does anybody know this play? Yeah. It's a hypothetical about the first African-American superstar athlete who comes out of the closet as gay. Like, what would happen? And as we were working on this amazing production, it was right at the time where there were a number of professional athletes starting to come out openly gay. And I have to say, it was quite an amazing experience for everybody involved. I'd do that play again in a heartbeat. I think I'm at the end. Oh, right after this, I'm going to direct another production of Mary Zimmerman's Metamorphoses. If you don't know that play, a beautiful play set around a pool, sort of contemporary telling of Greek mythology. When I did it at USF, we couldn't use water in the pool. So the set designer, Rob Morgan, and I came up with this idea to fill the pool with McDonald's Playland balls. And it was such a wonderful creative solution. I mean, we all, as artists, were problem solvers, right? We're trying to figure it out. Well, we found that we could actually light the pool and make it different colors, and it was, again, quite magical. All right, I'm going to zip through these. Production of The Foreigner, one of my favorite plays. The last one I want to talk about is this. It's a beautiful play I started working on 6 years ago called Wild Boy. How many of you know the TV show called Pretty Little Liars? Yeah, a bunch. So the executive producer, the creative the head writer on that show, Oliver Goldstick, is a dear friend of mine. Most people don't know it, but he's a beautiful playwright. And he wrote this play called Wild Boy, which is basically the story of a historian who is researching feral children in history. Feral means that they're raised outside of civilization. So many of them don't speak. They're actually, the last case I think was in 2004, they found a girl in the Ukraine. And very often they suffer from social and mental disabilities. So Oliver wrote this play called Wild Boy, and it really has to do with this man researching it, but at the same time, he comes home to Portland, Oregon, where he's a professor, and he and his wife take their child in for their yearly checkup. He's 2, I think, and it comes to find out that Morgan is severely autistic because he doesn't speak, or speaks very little. And so what Oliver wrote is this amazing play that goes back and forth in time. Basically, the character of Peter, the wild boy, who was a real boy who lived in the 18th century. I won't go into it right now. And so I kind of referred to this play as Tom Stoppard Light. It goes back and forth in time between these two stories and how they parallel one another. I just have to say, I've done the show twice now. It's about to be published, and it's probably going to have a wonderful, I hope, magnificent career or life to it. I think what I loved about the play is that it's really about acceptance. Because to me, as a storyteller, I love that Paul said that he was a storyteller, that my art really is about not necessarily understanding. I'm drawn to stories that have to do with acceptance. Because acceptance doesn't involve the brain, I don't think. I think it has to come from the heart. The end of that story of Wild Boy is that the father accepts this child with a disability. He doesn't understand it, but he accepts it. Before I came here, just did a wonderful production of Tartuffe. We did it all cross-dressing, so all in drag. So all the guys played girls and girls played guys. And we also did it with clown noses. This guy playing the daughter, he's 6'7" in the blonde wig, and then we put him in these high heels. She was like 6'10"-ish. Hysterical, very fun play, and a wonderful production. I was very proud of my students. Anyway, so I'll zip to the end, everybody, but I want to thank you for letting me talk, and we'll take a few questions before we wrap it up. So you want to bring up some house lights? Thank you. So, who's got a question? Yes, ma'am.
What plays would you recommend taking monologues from?
What was that? What plays do you recommend taking monologues from? Do you like sushi? Sure. No, I'm just asking.
I've never had it.
Oh, okay. Do you like Chinese food?
Never had it.
Okay. Do you like... It's okay. That's all right. Do you like Mexican food?
Yeah.
Okay. If you had to eat Mexican food every single day for the next month, would you still like it, do you think?
Probably not.
Probably not. So that's a tough question for me because looking for monologues, it depends what you're in the mood for. Comedy, drama, character, something close to you in age, something language-based. So it kind of depends. I'm still reading monologues every day. I read plays all the time. So I don't know. It depends what you're in the mood for. Yes? Yeah, right there.
What do the acting kids do during the day? Because like the musical kids work on music, but what do the acting kids do during the class?
Yeah, the question is, what do the acting kids do during the day? First of all, I make them wash my car. I'm not going to say what we do. You should go and meet one and ask them. No, here's why. I don't like talking about my craft. I would rather it speak for itself. And I'll give you a real basic construct. Yes, we do scene work, we do theater games, we do things to open ourselves up, to expand our minds, maybe learn things about new playwrights that we hadn't heard of, and they're wonderful acting exercises. But the bottom line is this kind of work, it's just as important and vital as what you guys are doing in other disciplines. Another question. Yeah?
Have you written any plays? And
No.
if so, none?
Well, actually, this one I'm zipping through right now. I've assisted. No, I'm not a writer. I wanted to just show you this because this is one of my dearest friends. I was telling Andy about it. It's from a production called The Oldest Living Cater Waiter. And we workshopped this show in San Francisco about 4 years ago. We were asked to take it to a big theater. Then we entered it in the San Francisco Fringe Festival. We won. Now we're getting offers from around the country, but the summer of 2019, we're going to move it into an even bigger theater. And the funny thing is about this play is that Michael, who's an equity actor, is actually from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. So when he said, "You're going to Oklahoma," I said, "Oh my God." So I think I'm going to get to meet his high school drama teacher next week. Another question. Yes?
Do you have any specific types of characters that you like to play?
Same answer about Mexican food. If I'm doing a comedy, when I'm done, I want to do more of a drama, or I want to work on a new play, or if I've done something that's more, let's say, vocal-based, then I want to do something more physical the next time. I like to mix it up. Yeah. Yeah.
How do you know if you're a character actor? And how do you, yeah.
Well, a couple reasons. Number one, I started losing my hair when I was 25. I have gotten to play the romantic lead a few times. I've gotten to kiss the girl and the boy a few times. But I actually found that the character work was so much more rewarding. This little Shakespeare scene that these guys helped out so beautifully on from Twelfth Night, I've played that clown twice. And I have to say, those kind of character roles are just, I find them so much more enriching and so much more challenging. But that's me. I want to work on this. I haven't seen anybody. My students don't want to hear me talk. Yes, hi.
What's the largest emotional toll you've ever had on yourself or music play?
I think it's right now. I don't know. All of us. I don't care if you're here playing the flute or you're learning about creative writing from Sasha. All of us who are artists, if we're going to be any good, what I say, and I heard Andre refer to this too last night, that I'm interested in artists who are willing to risk something of their own humanity. I love designers, technicians, actors, musicians, and all the different art forms if you're willing to bring something to the party. I say when I'm directing, if we're limited to only what I can think of as a director, we're screwed. The arts are collaborative, and so I think if you're risking something, you're going to feel that emotional toll in some way. Some of these shows are easier than others, but if you're risking something in your art, yeah. Who's that? Reese, yeah.
How has your time as an actor informed your work as a director?
That's a great question, because I never took a directing class. I got interviewed a couple years ago as a director. What do you do when you're thinking about the audience? And I got to say, I don't really care about the audience that much when I'm directing. I'm not stupid, but I have to direct the show that I want to see, that are just my tastes. Doesn't mean it's right, but it's just that I want to see. So you guys know this already. Maybe someday they'll create an acting track or a directing track here. But as actors, you start to develop your critical eye about what it is you think makes good theater. And it's going to be different for you than it is for you, than anybody here. Just like you have the same kind of passions about your music or your dance. Yeah, way back there.
Have you ever considered moving your career into film and video?
Say again?
Have you ever considered moving your directing and acting career into film and video?
The question was if I considered moving my TV and film career to acting or film or video. I've done a little TV and film as an actor, but I have to say, if I was going to do that, I would want to direct TV and film. I'm much more interested in that side of it because I think as an actor, when you're in front of the camera, you don't actually have a lot of say in your art. There's so many other variables. That's just my opinion. Plus, you're sitting around on the set for 13, 16 hours a day. Unless you're Tom Cruise or you're up at that high level where you get to call the shots. So, is that what you meant? Yeah. I love live theater. I love live performance. Aristotle said that only two things need to happen for live theater to happen: performer and audience. You don't even need a script. You don't even need a venue. Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay. So, as a character actor, do you feel like you get typecasted? And if so, are you okay with it? Do you mind? Or do you feel like typecasting really doesn't exist for a role that you enjoy?
She asked if I have ever gotten typecast, and if I have, does I mind that? Does that bother me? I got to say, I'm so glad you asked that question because I'm about to deal with this with my students here. Don't let anybody tell you what your art is. Don't let anybody tell you what you're capable of. You're here, you're studying, and let's say, I don't know, in the chorus you're learning to sing a Handel piece or, I don't know, something. Do that. Do it with all of your heart. But when you're done, if you want to try doing something else or something contemporary, do that. People tried to peg me early on. Oh, I'm short. Oh, I'm athletic. Because I'm a magician, I got pegged and cast in a lot of those roles where they could incorporate physical stuff. That's fine. And I enjoy it, and I'm actually very thankful for that. But that's not all of me. Just like it's not all of you if you only do one thing. So don't let anybody pigeonhole you either, whether you're an actor or painter or whatever. You get to do what you want. That's how your generation and how we continue to grow in the arts. So listen to that voice that tells you what you want to do. Yeah, Olivia.
Do you believe in or make use of method acting, and why or why not?
Absolutely. Again, I'll talk about more in class, but because I don't want her to know what we do. I think it was Will Rogers that said there are two things you're not supposed to know how to be made, laws and sausages. The third in there, I think, is acting. I don't like to talk about too much about it unless it's us. Absolutely. But not for every project. When I played the Cat in the Hat, there wasn't a whole lot of room for method acting. On the other hand, even a couple of the monologues I did today, there are some very meaningful things that I have used of my own life, especially in playing the father in Billy Elliot. Yes? Yeah?
What advice do you have for anybody wanting to audition for acting next year?
For here?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great question. I think when I sent you guys the welcome email a couple months ago, when you made it in, or last month, I said, bring your critical mind, bring a pencil to every class, bring your passion, and don't forget to bring your sense of humor. I don't know. I can't say. I know that Julie and Emily bring amazing adjudicators to. That's why the first night I said, stand up and take a bow for all of you, because you should congratulate yourself having made it to here. Not everybody gets to come here. I don't know. Text me and I'll make some suggestions. All I know is that if you're passionate and a couple of teachers have said, we all keep saying this to each other, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. How's it been the first couple of days? And what I keep saying to a person is, I am so taken with my acting students' curiosity. I mean, I love these guys. Every day so far, and I feel like we've been together for 6 weeks already, but it's been 2 days, and they're wonderfully curious about this craft that I'm trying to figure out what I do so I can share it with them a little bit. If you bring your passion, you bring your curiosity, then you'll see. Yes, sir.
What's the most challenging part of acting for you?
I don't know. I don't know. What's the most challenging for you guys as artists? I'll put it back on you. What are you doing here this summer?
Choir.
Say again, choir? What's the most challenging part of choir for you?
Dealing with me.
Paul said dealing with him. What's the most challenging part?
I guess that's a hard question. There's a lot.
Yeah. Well, I said it to my students yesterday morning. I don't think I'm any different than you guys. I really believe that. I've just been doing it longer. Maybe I have a little bit more confidence because I've been doing it longer. But these challenges that you guys face, all of us artists, we face them every day. We have the same insecurities. Yeah. Hi. Yeah.
You mentioned that, I forget who it was, but one of the writers for like the one about feral children, one of their favorite themes is acceptance. Do you have any favorite themes or something in plays that make you really connect with them?
Right now, I'm in that mode. I'm really looking at stories about acceptance, whether it's comedy or drama. I zipped through the last few slides of The Foreigner by Larry Shue. Does anybody know that play?
Yes.
Isn't that a great play?
Yes.
I love that play. And so, ultimately, it's one of the greatest comedies ever written, but it's really about acceptance. How they come to accept this guy who feels like a fish out of water. When I started directing, I was looking for plays that had to do with redemption. It was just something in my life that I was looking for, or answers to. But I think as artists, we're supposed to be asking questions, so it's always going to change. Right now, I'm in that mode of, what does that mean, acceptance? How do I do it in my life? Or maybe I don't always do it the way I would like to. So I'm driven by stories, and as Paul said, I'm a storyteller. Yeah, anybody else? Oop, sorry, yes, ma'am. Yeah.
What other themes have you dealt with in your directing and acting?
I'm sorry, say again?
What other themes besides acceptance have you dealt with in your acting and directing career?
What other themes have I dealt with besides acceptance in my acting or directing career? That's only one thing right now, the last couple of plays. Well, Tartuffe, does anybody know that play by Moliere? It's a satire on religious hypocrisy. Now, it's not a satire on religion, as people often think. I happen to really be driven by that theme, particularly about what happened with Hurricane Hugo last August, when, I won't say his name, but a certain minister in the South took 3 days to open up his church to people who were starving and dying in the community. And that when Moliere was writing this back in 1664, he was looking at the same kind of thing that was happening in his culture. Great writers write in the time that they live in. But those themes for me, those questions, whoever just asked that, yeah, it changes all the time. The next play I'm doing next year, Humble Boy, which I know Ben doesn't like, but I love it. It's about family dysfunction. And it's hysterical. And it's also very poignant and beautiful. Bless you. So it's, I don't know, it changes for me. Anybody else? Yes, way over there. Who's that?
Do you find directing to be more of like creating something new or another type of performance? Is it more of a creative technique or is it more of a taking something already written and just simply performing it?
Question is, do I feel that directing is, say again?
Is it more a way of creating something new or is it simply a specific performance?
Okay. I'll say something, I'm not sure I'm answering your question. Is it more of a performance or am I creating something new? I think Andre would also speak to this, but I can't stand what I call cookie cutter theater. Somebody goes to New York, they see the Broadway production, and they bring it back. Now, I know that happens a lot, especially as you're learning how to produce theater, because that's what we do. We imitate. As a director, I don't ever want to direct something that I've seen a production of, if I can help it, because I don't want to be influenced by that. I would much rather read something, just like I'm sure Paul will read a piece of music or listen to it the first time and then go, how am I going to interpret that? And again, I throw it back at you guys. Your art is really dependent on that same thing. What do you bring to it? So I guess I'm saying I try to figure it out as I'm going. And I also try to surround myself when I'm directing with people a lot smarter than me. So, yeah. And a lot of them are here this summer. Yes?
When you are casting for shows, if you are a casting director,
Yeah.
what is something that is like your biggest turn-off, say, that you encounter in actors? And what would you avoid as an actor auditioning for one of your shows?
The question is when I'm casting, what's one of the biggest turn-offs for me as a director casting? I got to say, probably rigidity. If somebody comes in, and I know that a lot of times it comes from fear, I was casting a show I was directing about 8, 9 years ago, and there was a lot of producers. There was a lot of money in the show. So there was a table of about 7, 8 people, and you'd come in to do your monologue or read a scene, and this young actor, no older, maybe a couple years older than you, came in, and he started a Shakespeare monologue, and then he went up. He forgot his lines. And the poor thing almost started to cry. And I said, Jim, start again. It's okay. And all these people are back here, all the power, status. High status over here, low status as the actor auditioning. So he starts again, and he screws up again, and he forgets his place. And I could tell that he's really trying. He's just nervous. And so I get up and I hop over the table. I said, I kind of feel like this situation is making you nervous. Tell you what, why don't you come and you go sit in my chair there, and I'll stand up here. So he sat next to the producers, and I said, why don't you just talk to me? Just talk to me. Tell me your piece, just like that. And he did, and it was lovely. I think what I try to do is, again, find an actor's humanity. What makes them laugh? The other thing is, as a director, I don't want to spend any time in a rehearsal hall with somebody who doesn't have a sense of humor. I don't care how talented you are. And the other thing I want to say, in case I forget, because it's something that I'm seeing so prevalent here at Quartz Mountain, is excellence and kindness are not mutually exclusive. And so I look for people that have a kind heart. Because what we do in theater, it's hard enough to do under the best possible circumstances. So we've got to learn how to be kind to each other, I think, as artists. So I'm looking for that in an audition, I guess. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yes, one last question.
Have you ever lost yourself in a character in a bad way?
No. And that's a great question. Have I ever lost myself in a character in a bad way? No. And I even said this the other day, one of my pet peeves, semantics, is that I don't ever believe you can become the character. We're pretending. We're making believe. To wrap it up, I want to finish with one of my favorite quotes. And again, this is by the playwright Sarah Rule. I want to thank you all for your time. See if this means anything to you. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.